What's up, Banana Bunch? You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Junglejims podcast. I'm your host, Mark. Welcome to the show. This is an informative one. I've been trying to do more of those. As you may well have noticed, we're on a every other week release schedule now. We've got just so much on my plate, and not just my plate, all of our plates. It's a literal, or not a literal. Well, literal doesn't mean literal anymore, does it? It means figurative. It is a veritable buffet of things to do. So anyway, just get used to that. The show will be out every other week now, which means I get a little more time to curate a more detailed audience, all kinds of fun stuff. So that's why this week is a big informative one. But before we get into that, I want to remind you, download the Junglejims app. We have app-exclusive deals every week. They update. You can see the weekly ad early. You can watch the podcast. There's all kinds of great stuff on there. It's really good. There's a price scanner built into it. So if you find something in the store that you can't determine the price of easily, you can very easily just scan the barcode right in the app. You can find items in the store and it'll show you where to get them in the store. It's very, very helpful, very handy. Don't forget, on Thursday nights over at the Oscar Station here at the Fairfield location, we do cigar and bourbon nights. So they'll bust out the old bourbon tasting, try some cigars with Gary and his team. And then Chef Aaron from the Event Center kitchen, he's out there making all kinds of fun stuff for you to eat. It's a really, really good time. I go out there about once a month to see what he's making. It's awesome. So anyway, check that stuff out. Now this week, you may have tried this product because I think we've talked about it on the show over the years. It's called Pass the Honey. It's individually portion-packed honeycomb with honey in it. It's delicious. The honey quality is unbelievable. And Douglas and I have been circling doing an episode of this for probably 2 years conservatively now. And then because of that, we have so much to cover there. And I was really excited about the opportunity to listen to him talk about everything from bee conservation to how it affects our entire ecosystem, and how if we don't have bees, you can't eat. We just won't have food to have. So anyway, well, that sounds very dire, and it probably is a little dire. I actually think he'll explain it in a much more palatable and fun way. It was a really good interview. Thank you so much to AJ and Produce for setting that up. So anyway, let me introduce you to Douglas. Well, maybe this would be a good time to have
press record.
Well, I did press record.
Oh,
so we have this juicy content too.
You got the bro to
that's
the birthing of this episode.
I think I might leave some of it. I kind of like that. I think people might enjoy that too. Well, I'll do a
just
big
don't fuck
lead
up the carpet.
Right, exactly. See, you know the real.
I know the real bar is just don't mess up the carpet.
It's so true, and I haven't yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, exactly. So
a little bit every day.
A little kombucha, a little splash of water, whatever happens. It's it's in closeouts right now.
Filled with chili.
This is agua de kefir. I just saw this. Well, I went to get the waters, and I was like, oh, that sounds like that might be refreshing.
So you have the Junglejims jungle card that gives you access. You can buy whatever you want or grab it off the shelf.
It's a little more 1970s than that, but for better, you know what I mean? Yes, ultimately, that's how that works.
I like that.
Yeah, just go and
that's a perk.
Track it. It's very fun. Yeah. Well, and it's because the whole point of it is what I'm doing right now is I just found this aqua de kefir. Yeah. This one's peach pineapple flavor. So it's kind of like a mixture of...
You went out for honeycomb samples, right?
Oh my gosh, I went out for water. That was the other thing. Oh my gosh, hold on. I actually need to stop this now and get the honeycomb. Before we go too far, let's introduce ourselves. Who are you, Douglas? Tell everybody explain it like we're five. What are you doing in my office?
My name's Douglas Raggio. I drove a box van for 12 hours yesterday to arrive here in your chili palace.
Thank you. Welcome. I got a chili ice guest house outside,
yes. But I'm here, I think, to promote and share and educate on Honey Feel Better.
Yeah.
Which is the ownership company of Pass the Honey, which I don't know why I even said Honey Feel Better, but Pass the Honey is an individually portioned regenerative honeycomb brand that I founded years ago, and you guys took an early swing on, and it seems to be doing quite well.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love, by the way, every time I use this, I laugh at the 100% unadulterated honey.
Yes.
Is honey adulterated often?
Did you not know this?
Honestly, I know. You know what I know about honeys is everything you talked to me about a year and a half ago on the phone, and I've since forgotten some of it. But I honestly, part of the reason I was like, this will be fun because you're a fun storyteller anyway, but I was like, I think you can explain honey to me in a way that I will finally genuinely understand it,
Okay.
There's a lot of how do I say, there's stiffness in certain industries, right?
Yeah.
And
honey's got a stickiness to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And it's a wreck.
Whereas for us, we are the sticky parts of this. So that was kind of where I was like, I feel like this will be a good one. So, I mean, Like, talk to me top to bottom. Like, what? Pretend this is a
why,
sales
why do you
pitch.
like the word adulterated? Because
I just think it's
adultery in it.
A little bit, actually.
Yeah, I
honestly,
figured as
that's
much.
really my whole MO is based on that.
Yeah, what
I
is
built
it?
my
Yes.
career on adulterating things.
I love it.
No, but we do love the product. I mean, we've had this here for a while.
Yeah, you and AJ were, I think, one of the first major accounts we had, and he went big and
Yeah.
bought a pallet. And I thought, well, shoot, hope they sell it.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, you guys do really, really well. And
Yeah.
then he built that one display, and
Which
he
is
built
awesome.
the other one at Eastdale.
Eastgate.
Eastgate.
Close enough.
I got the east part right.
Yeah, that's
and,
good
and
enough,
is it
yeah.
west of here, or is it really east?
That would be even funnier. It's actually south. As the crow flies.
As the crow, as the monorail.
Yeah, it's the monorail.
Yes,
Yeah,
floats.
Well, if you take the secret Jungle Gyms Jelly Tunnel Hyperloop, sponsored by Smuckers, we're gonna change it to a pass the honey, and you can pass the.
It'll go really
through.
slow.
That's good.
It's just
But
viscous.
it's good. Yeah, of course. We love we love thick viscosity. Yeah. So I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
so adulteration.
Yeah. Adulteration.
Here's the stat that I think boggles people's mind. 70 to 80% of all liquid honeys are actually processed syrups and sugars. They cut it like drugs.
That makes sense a little bit, unfortunately.
It's sad. So like consumption, and I will say that the plastic teddy bear drove consumption pretty much to the roof. So you got like industrialization of our food system, nefarious things started happening, right? You can
Right.
start designing things, and that's why potato chips are engineered to make you want them and not stop eating them.
right.
But consumption exploded, but then production was declining. We're losing forage zone for bees. Most commercial beekeepers in the U.S. actually make the majority of their income pollinating monocrops, because the monocrops, there's no native pollinators any longer. So
When you say monocrop, what does that even
almonds,
mean? Okay.
is the biggest contributor.
Okay.
Or I guess purchaser of commercial beehives.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, something like 90% of all commercial hives
Oh, wow.
go to California to pollinate the almond crops
Okay.
once a year. But you get all those bees in one spot, and all of a sudden if one's sick, they all get sick. It's like kids in kindergarten.
Sure.
There's theft. There's stress. When you're trucking your bees around the country pollinating monocrops, it's exposing them to other pesticides.
Sure.
And things that are being maybe not used on that crop per se, but pesticide adjacencies and drift because it floats. Bees fly.
Right.
So it's
They fly now.
Yeah, now. So as production has declined and consumption has gone up, you have the big CPG brands promoting honey as a healthy sugar.
Right.
But most the hole in that production domestically and the consumption is being plugged by imports, which are highly fraudulent. And they'll take like 1 barrel of honey and they'll add 50 barrels of liquid sugar, or rice syrup or something. to
Sure.
it. Really hard to test for. So we have to test using nuclear magnetic resonance testing to the parts per billion.
That's amazing. man.
Yes, we test for contaminants, pesticides. We have to test for sugar water feeding.
Okay.
So like if you're a commercial beekeeper and your main income is pollinating monocrops, you're not so concerned on the honey quality. So you're just keeping the bees alive. So you're feeding them sugar. So that's processed sugars on the
on
the
like
input,
the front end, yeah.
not on the back end. So yeah,
And
there's fraud
does-
every which way.
And does that affect the honey as
yeah,
well?
it doesn't
Doing
come, the
it makes
nutritional
sense.
benefits decline because it's just processed. It's like domino sugar.
Right, exactly. It's like how I
And they
imagine.
keep them alive through the winter. That's why they're doing it.
Sure.
But, the bees aren't living on their native habitat. They haven't, built their stores yet, which is what the honeycomb is. It's their pantry, if you will.
Right.
So, yeah, I had owned, or I guess my investment fund had owned an ingredients business, and I learned about honey fraud. There was also an episode of Netflix Rotten
Okay.
on honey fraud. And that was kind of my first introduction to wow, that's would you never guess. People know about olive
Sure.
oil. Olive
Yeah.
oil is highly suspect. It's number one.
Yeah. It's
Milk.
got a good PR team behind it.
Or bad, yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
Maybe it's problems worse. I don't know.
It was right around the time they were doing another Sopranos thing, so I think it just tied in and marketing wise. They were just like, they're like, be careful. Yeah, right.
Those guys.
They got Gandolfini's son back
Yes,
in.
they got garbage and olive oil.
Yeah.
And garbage
olive
oil.
management. Yeah.
Olive oil management, I love it. Yeah, so anyhow, I knew about it. I was putting honey in my lemon ginger teas in the morning to boost my immunity, and I knew it was suspect. So it's like, well, why am I doing this? So I started
Right.
using honeycomb, and You can't fake it. You can't heat it. You can't blend it because it would destroy the comb.
Right.
And so I just thought, let's make it convenient.
Yeah.
And that's like the baby carrot of the honey world.
I kind of love it. The packaging is really cute, like a baby carrot.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
It's convenient.
They're
the
super
convenience
convenient.
carrot. We're the convenience comb.
It's that thing too where I feel like in my life I either need way too much honey or very little honey, and this has been so perfect. I mean, seriously, where it's like that thing where I'm like, oh yeah, I just need enough. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's perfect.
Snacking honey.
Yes, snacking honey. I love it. I'm still trying to be that person to understand the enjoyment of the honeycomb part because I'll chew on it.
Put it on something. Put it on a toast, biscuit, pancakes,
the comb
waffles.
itself?
Yeah.
Okay, because I always end
It's
up getting
entirely
that.
edible.
So I always get that like kind of chewy, waxy thing, right?
You chew it like gum. I mean, that's originally what it was used.
That's
used for.
so in that regard, I'm like, all right, 10 out of 10.
If
So
you,
okay, so I
if you
should.
pair it with something,
Okay.
wax goes away. So like
Awesome.
if you throw it like we have a lot of breakfast joints that are putting it like on a pancake stack or a waffle
sounds awesome.
or a biscuit.
Yeah.
You don't notice it because the mouthfeel has other things, right?
Right, of course. No, that's a great idea.
But if you're snacking at whole and just eating it like an on-the-go type thing,
Right.
then yeah, you can. But ultimately, other people, the analogy that somebody's brought up is it's like sunflower seeds. Takes you a while to figure it out.
Yeah, but then once you do,
I think you eat 3 or 4 of those combs and you start to realize like I don't get it in my teeth anymore. I don't know why. I don't know what my mouth did. But it doesn't figure. It just figures it out.
that's cool, actually. Okay, well, that's my challenge.
So eat more.
I'm going to eat this entire
Take
box
the whole
today.
box. Go buy the whole stand. AJ order another pallet. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm embarrassed myself enough forgetting to bring that back, I just got the waters, boys. We're set. We're hydrated. Do we have a product to talk about today?
I love it.
Not my first rodeo. It's my second rodeo.
3rd day. Really.
It's a new hat,
It's a
though.
charm.
Yeah. The buckle is unbelievable. Oh, my gosh. I could ride a bee for 8 seconds. Yeah, I mean, so seeing all this inspired you to dive into this world, but like this is just such a unique approach in general. What are some like interesting things about bees and honey that people don't know? I mean, like I'm any other enjoyer where I've been buying the bear for too long, and I'm just like, yeah, this goes good in my.
Part of the problem.
I am part of the problem. How do I stop being part of the problem?
Honeycomb. I mean, and that it sounds selfish, right? But like,
No, of course, but I mean, be honest.
If you can buy honeycomb from your local beekeeper, you know it's the thing that throws me for the biggest loop is an insect pollinated flowers.
Right.
Put it in those cells, and nothing's touched it since.
Yeah, isn't it wild?
Like, I don't know how much closer to nature you can get. Like that's what flowers taste like.
Right.
Literally.
Well, and I imagine too, like probably different times of year, different flowers probably
Depends
change
on,
all that.
Yeah, you have monofloral honeys, which you guys have some here. You also have we're a polyfloral honey, so we're like a wildflower honey.
Oh, okay.
Our flavor is a little more savory, but you can go. There's a black avocado honey in Mexico.
Yeah.
There's a book. The woman's name's Marina Marchesi. I think I said her name right. She's a honey sommelier. And she has a book called The World Atlas of Honey, and it goes through all the different honey varieties and flavors and colors and taste profiles.
Yeah.
I heard there was a Greece honey that almost has like sparkles in it. It's clear, is what I was told.
Whoa.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all.
It's clear. It's hard to see.
based on-
Sorry.
It's like what was that? What was that shitty soda that came out?
Oh, like Crystal Pepsi?
Yes.
Oh
like
my God, it
Crystal
was
Pepsi.
super shitty. Yeah. And then it came back out. People were like, we're nostalgic for this. And then it didn't sell a second time. And that was very
When
funny.
nostalgia doesn't win the purchase, then,
No.
it's a bad idea.
Well, I think it was the same thing we did in 1993, which is we all had a bottle and we're like, this sucks. And that was it. And they're like, you can't, no, I don't care how loud you play Van Halen's Right Now for me in the commercial. It's not going to get me to buy this again.
One and done. Fool me once.
Yeah, exactly. Sammy Hagar.
But New Coke.
What's that?
New Coke.
New Coke, yeah.
I have a friend that swears that was a marketing campaign.
I mean, would it surprise you?
He thinks they did it intentionally to get people yelling for their original flavor.
Yeah.
He's like, when can you get people just protesting
Yeah, over a soda.
of a soda?
Because
God bless America.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Who says make it great again?
It never left.
We had the New Coke Wars
Yeah,
in
exactly.
1983.
I was just gonna say. I was like, after the survivors, the veterans of the Pepsi challenge.
Didn't they sell Jet at some point? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a documentary on
Yes,
that
did you
too.
watch that?
I did.
Oh, I really loved it too.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, what were they thinking?
I got the points.
I
Give me
can't.
my Jet.
I can't believe they didn't think of that. Like, it's only that one little asterisk would have saved their lives, and it's so great. And then Liquid Death did that for real recently. I don't know if you saw that. I maybe the contest is not over yet, but they're like, we're actually going to give away a Jet.
As a man who makes his living creating content
Okay.
and doing absurd things, Do you, this is a personal opinion,
I'm happy.
do you feel Liquid Death is going to jump the shark, or have they even already?
And right now they've just posted, we're jumping sharks literally right now. We have a tank of sharks. You know,
It seems to lose its luster every time. It's like the Erewhon smoothie. Like, they're going to run out of celebrities.
That's a good
I think
point.
they already have.
And I think that I could see that being the case. I think my thing with the Liquid Death is I think if you can keep, maybe not new blood, but they would be like putting blood in the drink. We'll do that.
They did. Was it Tony Hawk's on the skateboard?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think so long as they keep being, let me back up even more. I think a lot of times businesses, if they take a wild swing, they'll do one wild swing and then they're like, we'll base the model on this one wild swing and then we'll stay in that lane kind of. Whereas, and I'm using Jungle Gyms honestly as kind of a good example here, whereas like it doesn't, Jungle always jokes, he's like, there's a box, you just haven't found the edges yet.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but
Where
because of that, right, it allows me to walk in any direction. And so part of me thinks there's a potential that if somebody is really smart at Liquid Death and is going, no, push the boundaries all the time, and we'll just be like the pinball plunger, right? Like we'll just sit there and kick you back in if you go too far. So I think there's a potential they won't, but I'm curious to see because I am worried because they're a huge company.
Yeah.
Where I could see it jumping the shark pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know, because of that, because they could just get locked in.
Yeah, and like, I don't know.
I just saw they did one. It was like spicy strawberry water right now. It's like ghost pepper and strawberry. I just saw the ad like yesterday, and they're like, we tested on our own moms.
A flavor makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the other
because
stuff.
You can innovate. Well, they just did like a whole cola run recently, which I thought was a smart idea.
Admittedly, I don't know much about my Liquid Death.
I'm a soda sommelier, so I will. You know what I mean? The Mark over here. Yeah, so I drink a lot of those. So I'm
do
always
a
like,
flight here later.
We could, honestly. That would be great. I'll get a whole blind box.
Pull your
gosh, I should have built a honey blind box and then been like, oh, yeah, pick yours.
What's a blind box?
Oh, so it would be something where I would build some sort of device where the audience could see, but I couldn't. And I would just be like, all right, honey 1, honey 2, and then, yeah.
I'm working on like a global archive of honeys to like in person at a very renowned culinary institution to not be named yet.
No, I love it.
But yeah, having like all the varieties of honey in like a tasting room, and the students actually
how cool would that be?
Earn and learn out of there. And we're doing a whole history of honey course now at that same culinary institution.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's first time a sensory course has been offered at a culinary institution because it's all skills and techniques.
Oh, that makes sense.
Trippy.
Right,
There's a sensory. So they have like wine courses, but half those kids are 17. So
so they're like, not even.
So we're gonna do a whole honey one, and there's a lot of funky. Back to education, right?
Please, one of the things I've kind of picked up in my loose research about this is that there are a billion. I mean, really, like an almost limitless amount of types of honey, almost, and that so many little things.
There's thousands and thousands of bees as well. Types of bees. Honeybee is just one.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So then the flowers, thousands and thousands, millions and millions of flowers.
Right. It's incredible to me. I mean, to put it mildly, it's unbelievably like important to our ecosystem, if I'm not mistaken.
You queued up a conversation.
Welcome to the show.
So there's this amazing film. We'll call it a film.
Yeah. Does it have a good arc and an ending?
Does it have a beginning and middle
and platform?
Nobody watched The Platform if you're listening to this. Worst movie ever. Or I just don't get it.
Could be both, to be fair.
To your point, without a honeybee, we don't have agriculture.
Right.
And without agriculture, civilization probably isn't far behind. The movie The Beekeeper, the line is summed up very nicely.
But we are going here.
Yes. It is a line. It's probably the only saving grace of that film.
I wonder if like the original screenwriter, that was like the first thing they wrote, and they were like,
all
we can
downhill from there.
Yeah, I know. And they're like, and they saw it in theaters. They're like, my name.
It's poorly delivered.
Without a honeybee, there's no agriculture. Without agriculture, there's no civilization. Like,
yeah, exactly. But as long as you're doing it the most tough way possible, I'm
with a weird water bottle in the shot. Yeah. poorly shot.
Very odd, yeah. But people went to see that movie in droves. So hopefully people care about bees because they swarmed. I love that. Bring the whole brood to the theater.
That's right. The puns are never ending.
Yes, unfortunately.
Honey.
But it is a serious thing. That's like the frustrating.
It's vitally serious.
Yeah.
And that's where we talked about the fraud. Mm-hmm. So like beekeepers don't make money on honey.
Right.
Anymore. And so they're becoming more and more dependent on these large agricultural producers like the almond owner company.
Sure.
They're a wonderful company. They are. It's points.
Right. Like any other company, there's some problems.
Yeah, they're massive.
Pros
and with size comes from problems.
Yeah, right.
But if you're, it's almost, it's servitude. Like now you're dependent on what they're willing to pay you. And,
Sure.
They're buying so many, and there was a stat that came out last month that beekeepers lost 60% of their hives last season.
Are you serious?
Could you imagine if the cattle industry said they lost 60%, or the or chickens, or any other commodity?
Yeah.
And the fact that the honeybees basically are, they're the workhorse of our agricultural system, because
Sure.
we are a monocrop system here.
Right.
But if the beekeepers can't make money on honey and they're being pushed out of business by fraudulent imports because the price, they can't compete on price, like we're losing beekeepers too. So that's part of our mission was, we have 3 pillars. It's honeybee health, beekeeper livelihoods, and ecological diversity. And that last one, it kind of is about the best honeycomb comes from the best bees in the best environments.
Sure.
So it's singular in the sense that we don't want to harvest next to somebody who's spraying pesticides. We have to be far removed from industrial agriculture.
Sure.
Pardon me. And we spent 3 years almost developing an outcomes-based regenerative standard. Because there's also no organic standards for honey, by the way. That's another thing that throws people
I didn't even
off.
think about that. And
Organics inputs can't fence or feed a bee.
Oh yeah.
Organics about what you feed the cattle. It's about what you put on the crops,
Sure.
the row crops. It's land management.
So then, how do you even handle that with the organic space? Like what? Like netting?
So the USDA says there are no organic standards. There's been guidance for 15 years, but
Sure.
every grant we apply for, it's pollinators aren't a priority. Which I'm like, they won't be a priority until we have no more berries, and all of
Right.
a sudden everyone's
Exactly.
up in arms.
Yep.
But so there's guidance, but it's not approved. So per the USDA, there's a line. There are no organic apiculture standards. Apiculture is beekeeping.
Okay.
Agriculture is ag. But there's certifying groups that are third parties that'll certify it under livestock, like you're tending it, like
Sure.
you would a calf.
Right.
But again, you can't fence or feed a bee, so the whole rubric of the organic standards doesn't fit, which is why it's never been put into
Okay.
the organic program.
That makes sense.
So we were like, okay, we highly fraudulent industry,
Right.
beekeepers losing incomes, no organic standards. So there's really very little guidance.
Yeah.
Which is probably, part why the fraud's, so prolific.
Sure.
So let's just start fresh. And so we partnered with UC Davis, which is a big ag school in California, to define an outcomes-based regenerative methodology. And outcomes-based is different because there are some regenerative, claims out there, but organic's all practice-based. It's like, I did this, I did that, I did this.
Right.
No one's testing, which is shocking. So
Just filled out a form.
Filled out a form, which is okay, it's good, but
Sure.
how do you know you're not lying?
Right. Exactly. You go back to the fraud thing.
Yeah.
Where you're like, this could be a whole racket.
In honey it is. So we just said, let's do outcomes based, let's test. And so we do, forensic audits, make sure beekeepers are paid. We do on the ground, we do pollen analysis to validate from the regions we've qualified that are removed from, adjacencies or drift patterns.
When you say drift patterns, what do you mean by that?
From pesticides.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, just where they're, okay.
we have 1 million acres for research in the U.S. that we secured with some timber groups. But that acreage started with 13 million acres.
Wow.
But if you look at adjacencies to pesticide, wind drift for pesticide, forage availability so the bees have something to eat,
Right.
Water because bees need water, and then access for us to tend the hives, that 13 million acres, only 1 million of it is available to us to actually do research
Sure.
on. And on there is probably 10 parcels
Right.
we can throw some hives on.
Oh, wow.
We have to have bear enclosures and things like that
Makes
we're
sense.
working on.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Too.
So it's the forage zone, the spread of agriculture. We're losing, native habitats. There's a bunch of things, but part of our aim here is to get, if we can re-educate the consumer.
Yeah.
This is the true taste of honey.
Yeah.
This is where honey comes from. A comb's a different format. People aren't older generations remember it from their childhood.
Yeah.
People in their 20s don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
They ask us, how do you get the honey in there? To which I'm not allowed to respond any longer because I come back with something that isn't,
Yeah. You're having funny.
Like, you picked up a book? Yes.
Yeah. They're
Did
like,
you graduate third grade?
Yeah. That's wild to me. I do always think though in these moments, like imagine being the first person that was like, what if I hacked into this thing and what do you think their goo tastes like?
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
all the bees you have to put your hand in.
Yeah. And back then I imagine they were less friendly and prepared for us.
Yeah, no. I had somebody ask me, that's kind of expensive. Like, first of all, it's very rare to come by. It's hard. Like, that's a hard category to be in. Two, it's like, how much do I have to pay you to put your hand in a hive and rip out some comb? Like,
yeah, exactly.
tell me.
Like, you want the real stuff or not?
Yeah, and we can only take like 20 to 30% of the hive at the end of the season because that's how they get through the winter.
Right.
So like, and we're not feeding sugar water.
Yeah,
so
and I
like,
didn't even think about
we
that
have
too.
We have constraints on not just land like availability and what's there, but like also external forces.
Sure.
And then we have the seasonality and the fact that we can't take the bees home,
right?
For the whole for the winter. So
yeah, what happens in the winter? Because I'm imagining you're in a fairly temperate climate where you are doing this. What does the winter look like?
Well, no flowers.
Yeah.
So that's their food. So we can only take 20 to 30% of the hive, and it depends on the region. Like some regions have more robust, flowering, or it flowers earlier.
Sure.
People forget that honeycomb has a season and a harvest.
Right.
Like, well, what season? Well, winter would be when we harvest because that's when all the stores are the most, robust for the bees.
That makes sense too. That's wild to think about too. I mean, again, it's all these things that we just, like you said, it's about educating the consumer. And
AJ here picked it up quick. He put it in produce, which was one of the first departments, and we thought we were like center store. And nobody buys honeycomb for their tea; they buy it as a snack or a garnish.
Right.
And it's used like a berry.
Right.
And that's where and we're also the fact we're seasonally harvested.
Sure.
We have variable weight, variable pricing. It's a commodity. It trades on the markets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's cool to be somebody's first time for honeycomb.
Right. Now I know how the honey gets in there.
Yes. A bee from a flower. To have like the format is really what changes things. It's the more people are apt to try it.
Yeah.
They're not going to spend $30 on something they may not know they like.
Yeah.
Will they spend sub 10 all day, every day?
Right.
And now
and then you love it, and you're like, all right,
and you can put it in a purse, you can put it in a gym bag, a backpack.
Yeah.
You could use it for, your sad, lonely single charcuterie nights where you're just crushing wine and watching Emily in Paris or whatever Lucky mentioned.
It was oh my gosh, I'm still stuck on the Phil Collins thing. I'm still so mad about that. How could you only reference him through his daughter? My Jesus. Anyway,
who's Justin Bieber married to?
That's a good
another actor's daughter.
Right? Oh, is it a Baldwin? Right?
Baldwin.
Yeah,
yes.
I think so.
I can't tell you those.
No, it's okay. Yeah, there's like 7 of them.
They're all angry.
They very angry. Just leave Alec away from the firearms. I can't believe that movie came out. They were like, we should finish this. Can you imagine that? Like, they shot the director. Like, who's guiding this picture? I'm sorry to go there.
I shouldn't even laugh, but you're right. Like, there was somebody made a call. It's probably to do with money.
It always does.
That's just my guess.
For sure. They're like, we've already sunk in X. Yeah. We've already sunk in $35.
They don't know that the sunk cost fallacy is you still shouldn't do it. That's what's that. You're not supposed to move forward.
I want to know who watched the, like, after this, we're going to look up the Letterboxd reviews. People are like, actually, it's pretty good.
No one wants to see it.
I don't think so.
Trauma.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It's such a sad story. Again, I am also sort of sad. I'm laughing not at the tragedy, but laughing at the idea. Right.
Of like the
we
go
live in
forward.
South Park. Yeah, they're like, why don't we continue making this movie?
I didn't even think about the fact that somebody died on set.
Right. That blows
and they just pushed through and like,
but then again, there's probably a precedent. I mean, what's his name killed Vic Morrow on the Twilight Zone movie, and I've watched that. So, do you know about that?
No.
Oh, it's a whole different. John Landis. He was like kind of ostracized. I mean, he had a good run in the 80s.
There was The Crow.
The Crow,
Yes, and I forgot about that.
And another one that they finished. Yeah, that's a good point.
That was an homage, though.
Right, and I feel like I think they shot like 95. Like it made sense that it was like almost done. They're like, all right, we got a couple effects scenes. We'll fit Pat in here. But yeah, like you said, it's like an homage. It's like,
but then Fast and Furious too, because he passed.
Oh, that's right.
And his brother was a step-in or something.
That's
like
right.
That. So I guess
maybe
this
is
happens,
just Hollywood. Yeah, but I felt like
Hollywood's callous.
But
has no care.
But like the thing is, I feel like it almost all the ones we were also thinking of, they killed the actor, not like the person shepherding the project.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm pretty sure he shot the director.
It was the cinematographer. It was the one who was in charge. I think no, because she got charged. It was a DP, like a photographer.
Okay,
I don't think it was the director.
Okay, yeah, but still somebody involved. It's fun.
Production.
I can't think of too many where somebody on production dies and they're like, push through. In a high spot like that too. That's crazy. I'm sorry we totally derailed this. Well, speaking of things that shouldn't die, bees, because that will be detrimental.
Well, they are insects, and they do have a lifespan.
Yeah.
But
What's the average bee lifespan?
It's like 6 weeks. Something like that. And then a queen lives longer.
Okay.
A queen can live for several years.
Oh, no kidding.
Obviously, different things attribute to things. Like the whole 60% of lost colonies last year or last season are attributed, I believe, to some pesticides, some mites, weather as well. I think it was a perfect storm, no pun intended.
Right.
But I can't imagine another industry saying they lost 60% of their crop.
Yeah.
Like, what if you said, oh, we have 6% of strawberries were lost?
Yeah. What would you do?
People would lose their minds.
Oh, absolutely.
For some reason, the bees just don't get the same attention. People know save the bees. Then you ask them the next question, like, well, why is that important, Mark?
They're like, I don't know. I saw a sign.
Yeah, you like food?
Yeah, right. Huge fan.
Yeah, which is why we go, consumer will take a while. I think it's about getting into placement in stores, getting people to try it, and then like usually curiosity gets our first purchase.
Yeah.
Taste gets the second, and then they start researching the company, like, oh, this is a company actually doing real work.
Right.
And then that kind of becomes the lifetime customer.
That was one of my favorite things when we first talked too, where I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy's a wealth of knowledge about all of these things that I know so little about. Yeah.
Sadly, we had to, because like we couldn't just, I thought I was going to make mailbox money when I got the patents on the single serve. I was like, I'm just going to collect those checks.
Yeah.
But then we couldn't find a beekeeper in the U.S. to sell us honeycomb because of all the pesticides in the wax.
Oh, sure.
And then it bioaccumulates. Yeah. So, but then all the...
As in like stacks over time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they just, because you reuse the foundation.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it.
The wax foundation is what that's called. The bees will make it if it's a natural hive.
Yeah.
But if you're not trying to do honey or honeycomb, then they actually have plastic foundations, because the bees, it's more caloric energy for the bees to make wax than it is. It actually comes out of their abdomens. It like flakes off.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
The honey is like a regurgitation, like gets the moisture out, and they spit it back and forth. And
imagine if we could commodify our own versions of that. I was just like, listen, I got this mucus farm.
I mean, I went to college. What about you?
Yeah.
That's what I call my hive. Is that inappropriate?
No, not for me. I was like, oh, me too.
I love you, honey.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, please don't listen to this whole episode.
No, gosh. He knows my history.
Of course. That's awesome. Oh, my gosh.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, that was what life is all about. Well, I know, but you and I will derail forever. I feel like this is the best part. I'm very excited to be doing this finally. I'm sorry it took so long, but no, and thinking about this, I get lost in all of the little silly thoughts of like the whys. Like, it's funny to me to think about this. There's like this whole insect like industry that I just don't even understand. Like, why are they even doing it? I mean, it's obviously for future use, like you said, at their pantry and stuff like that. But it just to think about that too long, I'm just like,
the bugs themselves.
Yeah, like, I mean, realistically.
So there's, man, I don't even, constantly fascinated by things that percolate up.
Yeah.
And just get weird inbound phone calls from people.
I bet.
I mean, how we secured that 1 million acres of research was, I was thinking, well, bees, trees, like, who's the largest landowners in the United States? And turns out it was timber groups.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I was like on the couch and I started Googling, and one of them's privately owned, multiple generations. They've been around for 130 something years.
Oh, wow.
And so I just on LinkedIn shot the, 4th generation president. The guy's name's Doug as well. 2 Dougs make a right. And I was like, well, hey, if you cut down your trees and you put bees on that kind of clear cut, would think you could grow trees faster and maybe harvest sooner. And he was like, that's a great idea. And that actually ended up, we talked about what that would look like. But then during that conversation, kind of that period of time we were researching the land, they had a large wildfire.
Oh my gosh.
And they lost 500,000 acres. Large amount of acreage.
Yeah.
And we started thinking, well, what if we put beehives along the fire line? Would it pull the living forest into what's called a carbon forest, because it's all burned?
Right.
And then we could actually see what the pioneer species were based on the pollen of the bees, so we could test the hives.
That's so cool.
And so that's something that we've talked about from like a fire mitigation. It hasn't happened yet, but it's part of the like land use and research projects we're working on. That's what they do. They regenerate landscapes.
Right.
That's their whole role.
That's amazing.
So like, how do we do that to that? And then the other is, we call it regenerative. It's indigenous.
Sure.
That's the real practice. And I don't know why we've whitewashed it, because that's, I guess, what we do to poor native nations.
Yeah.
Is we need lands that are far removed from agriculture because of pesticides and things of that nature. So we've been talking to some native tribes about like bringing skills and income that isn't a vice. It isn't gambling, weed, or, tobacco.
Sure.
Can we during hives. So like that's a really interesting way to, and it doesn't have to be just the native, populations. It could also be, we talked to the Cajun population in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Like there's skills and income needed there. You can't put cows on swamps. You can't put row crops in swamps. We can put a barge with honey, hives.
Yeah.
So like there's just funky little ways. Like
that's cool.
If we want to have a domestic apiculture industry,
right,
we're going to have to look at this in a new way, and we're going to have something that beekeepers can make a living on.
Right.
And right now, liquid honey's not it.
Yeah.
Because all the fraudulent imports just drove the price. Like liquid honey should not be 3 cents, an ounce.
Right.
Or 0.3 cents or whatever it's at. Honey's crazy nutrient benefit and nutrient dense and delicious.
Yeah. Stays forever.
Stays forever. Yeah, that'll never go bad.
That's
like crystallized, but like
right,
you can heat it up. It doesn't matter.
And then you're back to business.
Some people love, like that's a darker comb that you have in front of you. Some people love dark combs. They'll pick through those bins and find
and look for that.
They'll look for brood cells. Sometimes get through.
What does that mean?
Brood is like it's the larva. It's like,
okay.
Like infants, like their nursery in the hive. Because the hive's a home. Every bee has a role. There's guard bees.
Yeah.
There's nursing bees. There's drones, obviously, that go out and find things. There's the male bees that are only there for reproduction, for the queen bee on her maiden, fertility flight or whatever it's called.
That. How do I get that role in this society?
They don't live long. The male bee.
Yeah, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
And well, so the queen bee, it becomes a queen because she only eats royal jelly. Everyone else only has royal jelly for a bit, and then they are weaned off.
Oh, interesting.
But I've never seen this science. I'm sure it's out there, but like why the royal jelly creates the queen that can direct if she's laying male or female eggs.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. Like they don't, so back to what I was really saying is the funky, weird conversations was like, I didn't expect native, populations to be a potential partner. I didn't think about the Cajun population or other, Rust Belt type cities, perhaps.
Like regionally specific.
Regionally specific, kind of marginalized communities.
Yeah.
But the one that really threw me off was, so do you know what a waggle dance is?
No, I would love to know though.
The waggle dance is a bee goes out and forages, finds a great pollen source, was like, gotta tell the hive about this, comes back to the hive, and a bee frame and like a managed crop, not like a one that's in a tree. There's frames and they have, there's a 2-dimensional plane. The honeybee will get down, a dance circle will create around it, and then the bee will communicate by shaking and going on a straight line and then curving right or left. And it's called the waggle dance. So it waggles and then it goes right or left, depending on how vigorous it waggles, the length it waggles, the curvature it does. It tells the other bees in the dance circle the direction, the distance, the quality of the pollen, and it also tells them how much honey they need to get there and back with a full load of honey in their honey stomach.
That's crazy.
So like that's all in a 2-dimensional. So like there's 5 different things being communicated on a 2-dimensional plane. So Google X reached out and wanted to do research because it's a transport thing. It's fuel efficiency for trucks.
That makes sense, yeah.
Getting there and back with the most load with the least amount of fuel. And insects figured it out millions and millions of years ago.
Right, exactly. And
we
just
have
ripping
no
them
clue.
off. Yeah.
That's crazy. Trying to rip them off.
I could just now imagine a group of truckers in a circle, and there's one guy just shaking that ass.
I think they did a movie about this called The Beekeeper, I think. The knowledge of bees and protecting the hive. God, it's the worst movie in the world. It's so bad. Like when you watch a movie on a plane, Mark, and you're like, I wouldn't have watched this again.
You're like, if it crashed
I'm a
right
captive
now,
audience who's not paying, and I still wouldn't watch it again.
Like,
and I own a honeycomb company.
It's so funny.
It's a bad movie.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Statham is an interesting character. I don't think he's known for great.
I will not fault him for having a career.
No, for sure. I'm glad. Oh my gosh. I'm afraid they're going to make a sequel to Beekeeper.
I mean, they'd have to.
Of course. It made too much money on no budget. They were, like you said, they were just painting in somebody's office. And they're like, do you mind if we do a scene here?
There's like birthday balloons in the back too.
I see, now all you're doing is you're making me want to rewatch it.
Go back and watch the American gas station that says petrol.
Petrol, right.
Yeah, watch for that one too.
Yeah, like because he won't leave his neighborhood to shoot a movie.
Yeah, he was like, this ain't worth it. Not getting paid
I
enough.
can't imagine being there in my career ever, by the way, just in any line of work, but especially be like, yeah, I'm only going to do this if it's within walking distance.
You bathed in a tub full of chili.
But I drove 45 minutes to get here.
For that luxury.
I respect the process.
Earned it. Earned every last chunk.
I didn't think about it until the drive home. That was what I did not count. I was like, yeah, this will be great. And then like as all of the bad thoughts came just as I got into the bathtub. Like every thought that you could possibly had.
Crescendo.
Oh, it was
right
perfect.
there,
And there's all these people
ideas.
and they're clapping. They're like, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, how am I getting home?
How many people? For like
A lot. I mean,
glass.
it was like press glass. Like this whole area was packed. It was nuts. The news was here. I knew it went big when a guy I had not, we were Facebook friends, but we hadn't talked at length in 15 years. We'd worked together at the airport. Okay. And I get a text from him. It's just, is everything all right? And then it's a follow-up picture. He's at a gas station, and they're playing the footage on the screen.
It was like a
at the gas
1970s
station.
movie with all the screens.
Yeah, it was like a Channel 12, like the local news clip was playing. It's like, local man bathes in chili. It was like a whole thing. And I'm like, oh, that's how I really knew I'd made it. And when it's just a picture of me.
Where do your parents live?
Yeah, here. Well, one here, one in California. So my dad's just happy. We have the same name. He's just happy he no longer has the heat on him. He's like, if someone Googles us, they find you.
They find you.
Yeah. He's like, I'm off the hook now. Yeah. He's like, I no longer matter. And I'm like, that seems like what you wanted.
That's why he named you what he did.
Yeah, exactly.
To be his forever patsy. It was the other Mark. Go find him. He lives on 1616 16th Avenue. Yeah.
It's kind of true.
He looks like me.
Yeah, exactly. I think I even dodged that bullet. Well, I say bullet. I mean, he dodged the bullet, It's so bad. But yeah, they're incredibly proud of me, I'm sure.
They should. You're having a good time, man. This is a great office.
It's very strange. It's a strange life, isn't it?
It is.
But it's great. I tell everyone it's for the audience. It's really for me. I learned a lot about beekeeping and bee culture today very quickly, and the honey process. You know what I mean?
The waggle dance.
Yeah, the waggle dance is crazy. I'm like literally my first thought when you started explaining. I'm like, I'm gonna Google this as soon as we're done.
Every time I step on a plane, it's now designated Waggle 1.
That's amazing. Look, I hope this is big enough that you have your own planes at some point. That do have that.
I just hope to cover payroll every month.
Well, of course. I'm a big dreamer. It's all of my emotions are hyperbolic. I'm like, I love this. I hate this. I'm going to be this is going to be a huge success, Oh my gosh. Here's one I've been thinking about a bunch. What are some either common misconceptions or just common things that people don't really know about this? Like what's something that you, in your education, that you really wish the consumer did know?
That you can eat it.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's one of the first questions we get is like, what is it?
Right.
So that's honeycomb. Do you know where honey comes from? And that usually gets a dead stare.
This is when you hit them
it's like,
with the book.
Yeah, this is where honey comes from. Can you eat it?
Okay.
Yes, entirely edible. What do you do with the wax? Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Eat it. You can spit it out. You can.
I tried it on pancakes when you said that earlier. That's
a waffle, of pancakes, a biscuit.
Yeah, a biscuit probably go crazy.
Those are good on top of a steak.
Oh, okay.
Another good use. So we just launched under food service. So I'll give you some inspiration here.
A little Jungle Gyms exclusive.
Yes. So we're working on food service. So we're seeing a lot of funky uses with chefs because chefs know what honeycomb is.
Right.
We've now eliminated the knife, the labor, and the waste. It usually mucks up the back kitchen.
Right.
If you're doing kind of a typical brick of honeycomb. And so a lot of ice cream toppers, like Froyo's toppers.
Okay, that'd be great.
We had one coffee shop that did she called it a crunchy honey latte, but she used the honeycomb as a garnish and sprinkled Biscoff on it.
Oh.
So that's that. That was a big
good.
one. But steakhouses are putting on top of steaks, and then they'll torch it. So it's almost like a flambéed.
Oh, wow.
What's when they torch the top of something? Creme brulee.
Yeah, brulee. Yeah.
We've had a lot of breakfast joints. Like I said, pancakes, waffles, toast, acai bowls, breakfast bowls, granola, parfaits. Those are like the easiest no-brainers. Obviously, charcuterie boards, cheese and meats.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That was a great idea.
That's kind of where most people, if they've seen honeycomb, they've seen it on a charcuterie board.
Right.
They haven't seen it in like parfaits or breakfast bowls, which is where we're moving into with breakfast joints. The ones that really threw me off, though, were a seafood joint was putting a halibut on top of it. So it was like an elevation to their presentation on the plate, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
We're doing a large cocktail program with a very large spirits conglomerate.
Sweet.
Bees knees, beekeepers, anything with gins, Prosecco's, and bourbons.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of old fashions.
Oh, cool.
So using it as a cocktail garnish, which is like an area I never thought it would move into. And then the one that like, I think if this goes, and I think it will, is it's like our avocado toast moment.
Oh, yeah.
Is People are pizza parlors are putting that honeycomb as a centerpiece on their hot honey pizzas.
Oh, yeah.
As a visual kind of cue to a hot honey pizza.
Yeah.
And then people fight over that slice.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's, there. There's
the
only
fun
one.
Slice, right. Yeah.
The fun
I can see
slice.
it. I would fight over it.
Yeah, like that. I never thought seafood. I never thought pizza parlors. Never thought coffee shops.
And hot honey's really having a moment right now.
It is really having a moment. Don't know where they're getting all their liquid volumes.
Well, there's some company.
Yeah.
There's just some guy with a vat somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
just
it's
rice
honey.
syrup.
Yeah, exactly. Is it amber enough? He's like, I'll work on that.
Yeah,
it's
light amber.
This is the clear honey from earlier. in the
Yeah,
story.
from Greece. Yes. It's really, really high end.
I would try a clear Grecian
So people
honey.
ask us, they'll say, well, what if I say they hear about the fraud? Like, well, I buy really expensive honey. It's like, well, if you're knocking off purses, are you knocking off cheap purses or more expensive purses?
Yeah, for real.
So that like the more expensive honeys, like the Manukas of the world, are I think even more fraudulent. Well, I know that like certain retailers sell more volume that's exported annually.
Sure.
So somehow there's a volume consideration. Where is this coming from?
What is the deal with Manuka honey? Like, what's supposed to be? Is it just it's just New Zealand honey, right?
The unique Manuka factor is a percentage or a number from the Manuka Federation of a honey's Manukaness.
Oh, okay. So it's all.
It's a circle of.
Sounds just like all of that was made up, right?
I can't really get it.
Got it.
It's the tea tree. It's a monofloral honey.
Okay.
But it has to have a certain percentage to be called that.
Okay.
So like there's some controls around it.
Sure.
But it was really expensive, and if fraudsters going to come in like, if I'm going to be knocking off honey, why am I going to say it's a cheap $3 teddy bear? Might as well say it's the $80 jar and just
go for it.
Take the expensive stuff.
And people are, and because we are as consumers are sort of trained to be like, well, higher dollar usually does mean a higher quality product.
People know that honeycombs, one, it's hard to come by.
Right.
You see it maybe at your farmer's market once a year.
Sure.
Because again, you can't go take all the hives, so it's a very limited volume.
And it's like even some of the ones I know that we carry that have like some of the jars of honeycomb in it, it's not a lot of it. No. It's like a little thin slice, which again, it makes
it's a visual. That's like a gifting occasion.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You're like, okay.
I tried using one of those.
Comb.
Imagine pulling that out. Like pulling yourself out of a chili tub.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly
a little
it.
messy.
I was sitting there, and there's people squeezing my sides to get the liquid off. Yeah, you're not far off. And I also am making my own chili comb at home.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, the queen just sits there, and she's just like, "This is fine, right?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Your young queen.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. As I just keep the honey going. This needs to hold up.
What was you asked her the kind of question? Other things I learned?
Yeah, or just like what would be really to me, this is about educating consumers, right? So like, how the hell do we do that?
Well,
what are some messaging? Maybe is another way I could say that.
So what you guys do here?
Yeah,
like merchandising it. Like we're essentially introducing a new category to consumers because like the sub 60 crowd just doesn't. You don't have a neighbor with a beehive any longer. It kind of doesn't happen. It's not the 50s anymore.
Sure.
And so merchandising things and giving it the space, like another grocer in this neighborhood, puts it next to their apples, and like that's a natural next to apples, next to berries, next to parfaits.
Yeah.
So that's where the consumer can it's new to them. They're curious. It's a cute little package.
Yeah.
It's next to something. We have a bunch of pictures on the displays too.
Yeah.
Shows like uses. That's really the next kind of is, look, you can use it in all these ways. And that's part of the reason why we're going into food service now is that chefs know honeycomb. They know it's a premium item. They know it elevates a dish. They know it complements things. So the more we can get into menus, the more people will see it and then, hopefully use it. And then the goal is just buy honeycomb or support your local beekeeper.
Yeah.
I don't, people ask me where I get liquid honey from. Like, it's really our cutting operation. We just bottle it and keep it.
Sure.
We don't have a ton of volume.
Yeah.
But I don't know where else to trust. And local beekeepers are great and they're vitally important.
Of course.
But I also know that, after 13 million acres of trying to find forage for us, we only had 1 million available to us to do pesticides in the U.S. So you could have the best beekeeping practices in a beekeeper, but 2 feet away you could have, your neighbor just dousing it with Roundup every 5 minutes for all you know. Or somebody, a mile down the road that just happens to be downwind.
Well, when you brought up the drifting patterns, that was one of those things that I'm like, it's like I felt smart enough to know that was real, but not smart enough to think about it first, if that makes sense, right? Where I'm like, oh, I can't even imagine what the kind of stuff you have to contend with. Yeah. It's crazy. And so I imagine, it is probably like this. You've
just
created
concentric circles of criteria that you just Yeah, and at a certain point, we can find all kinds of land, but like, is there flowers there? Is there water there?
Right. Yeah.
You know,
It's like
what's
you have to
the
find
honey
the
gonna
same
what's the honey gonna taste like if we do that fire thing?
Right.
I'm super curious about that. It could taste
Honestly,
like garbage.
It could,
but
Could
it
be,
could.
or you can unlock a whole new flavor.
Who knows? Exactly. So
That's cool. That honestly, of everything we've talked about today, that's like the part that like really lit up that adventurous side of me so much. Where I'm like, yeah, I want to see that happen.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious for the data on it. You know,
the forestry group that we are working with, and like their harvest cycle is every 40 years. It's timber. They have to let the trees grow to a massive size.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, so if you harvested every 39 and a half, would that have an economic impact? He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I never would have thought like 6 months would make a difference in something like that.
I think because they're probably viewing it in such a big picture, like zoomed that way, they're like, wait a second, we can harvest it.
You have a 130-year-old company, you can think on the long term.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's even wild to me to think about. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even think that. Yeah, and it makes so much. Again, another thing that makes so much sense. What you hear, you're like, oh, of course, all the land.
But
is
then
owned by timber companies.
But then you get the fires, and then you're
right, and then you're
SOL.
like, right. Yeah, you're like, well, that's why I've also started a second business. It's a firefighting company.
We drove through that. We were in the normal, like the living forest is what I think they called it, and then the carbon forest, the fire line. We were driving along it.
Yeah,
it was moonscapey, like not a living thing.
Yeah.
And then you could see where they just abandoned some of the earth moving equipment, and the glass was melted out. It was so hot.
I bet that was crazy.
It was one of the more surreal scenes I've been a part of. Like I've witnessed. It was just like, wow. Like, and right over here, it's like animals and things, and just you're on one road because it was a fire road that they broke the fire with.
Yeah.
And just like major pieces of like firefighting equipment and tree cutters because they were cutting it and trying to clear the path. And yeah, it was surreal. And to think that went on for 500,000 acres.
Yeah.
Like as far as the eye can see.
You're like, yeah, exactly. And even further probably.
Yeah.
The closest I can even think coming to that, I went to Yellowstone right after their big wildfires in the early 90s. And so like but I remember the same kind of thing where you're just like swaths of this place that, you've seen pictures of your whole life. You're like, oh my gosh. But half of it was just.
And it'll take 100 years to come back.
Right.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy. And I remember at some point in the last couple of years, I saw something where they're like, look, here's some of this from 30 years ago. Yeah. And it's recovered some, but still.
We haven't heard anything about LA, have we? The Malibu fires or anything?
No, nobody's really talked about it since it all went down in that regard.
It's got to still be all burned up. They're not rebuilding.
That's what I imagine. Yeah. Damn, I didn't even think about that.
I'd forgotten about that. Because that was almost apocalyptic as well, the visuals.
Right. It was crazy to think about, too. Like how
heavily populated it was. And
right. And what it's like now. Gosh, that's crazy. And it's funny that hasn't hit the news cycle in a while, too. No. Well, we've got too many other fires, I guess, going on all the time. We're like, everything's on fire all the time. Everything. And sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's a figurative. Sometimes it's Jason Statham hiding from the government as a figurative beekeeper while also being a literal beekeeper, potentially the worst disguise in all film history.
In a very technical beekeeping suit.
He looked like it would be like, you're like, uh-oh, the boss in the video game just showed up in the bee video game.
You could throw that on. Basically.
I would. Honestly, he'd probably fight me. I could just see him all tough and stern. Classic Statham.
Fight you in slow-mo.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I was like, oh, that's an alert I've never seen on the board. It's like, you're almost out of card space. Perfect. We did great. This went even longer than I thought it would. I'm very happy about it. Well, first off, I know I probably should have said this at the top of the show. Welcome, genuinely, truly. Like,
Vice versa, man. It's fun to finally sit down.
Cool. I know I cut in some clips of the new display, which is beautiful. By the way, that came out awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that this is the kind of place where we encourage people to do that was
reclaimed beehives.
Oh, no kidding?
Oh, yeah. All used beehives. They had all the propolis was still all on them. We had to clean it off.
I want to see that in person. That's been one of my goals. Being
like an
here.
actual hive?
Yeah, I'm like, I want to.
I'll get you.
Okay.
We'll call the local. So typically what we do, we'll just find the local beekeeping club. There's always one.
Oh, really?
And we just say, hey, we have somebody who wants to come learn about beekeeping.
Yeah, I would love that.
They suit you up and then tape your bottoms.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No dark clothes.
Oh, why not?
I don't know. I wore dark pants my first time out, and
it just didn't go well.
They were just all over, and I was like, "This isn't comfortable."
Weird. Well, it was like, we talked about the cicada suit. I've been seeing no bright colors for the cicadas because they'll swarm me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's terrifying." And I only wear bright colors, so I'll just be inside this summer. Bees.
Is that an every summer thing?
I don't know. I think Cincinnatians lied to me.
Years, I
thought it was 17.
Yeah,
because I remember. Crazy. I feel like one happened when I first got here, and I remember being like. It was just there's no way.
Have you been here 18 years?
Yeah, I mean it's like
there you go.
25, right? So it's like it's time. I just always think about this because like I feel like you hear all the horror stories, and I just remember getting here. It was
horror
like a
movies.
perfect storm of things where I'm like, oh, the pizza compared to New York sucked. There are all these other things. They're like, oh, you like this? Oh, this will be great. And then they're like, also these horrifying loud bugs that seem dumb.
Descend.
They descend. Oh, it's like locusts. It's very biblical in nature.
Yes.
It'll cover everything, and also it'll go on for a month or two in the summer. You can't really easily go anywhere. But yeah, now it's just like it feels like every couple of years they show up. I'm happy because I've got the suit, so that's like at least a couple good social posts we can guarantee.
Do you take it out during the swarm?
Oh yeah.
Just hang with your homies?
I usually just go out places and harass people because I'm like, that's what the bugs do.
Percentage-wise, how many people know what that is here?
Most people are just like, it's a bug.
Okay, that's what I
about
figured.
it. The problem is
They didn't put two and two together with
Ohio's not known for its literacy, it turns out. I live in Kentucky. I'm sure it's worse there. Yeah. There's probably a
Don't
documentation.
hate on your state, buddy. You're
I mean,
here.
I'm a transplant.
You're
No, it's
local.
nice. Look, I love books. I'm trying to bring the numbers up.
Ditto.
I want people to be educated on these. That's why
I'll send you some B-books.
I
We
would
got a
I would
number of them.
genuinely love that. Someone out there should do a whole documentation on the fire line thing.
That's
I feel like that's in your
There's
brain,
that,
yeah.
and there's also there's like the skills and income for marginalized communities. I think it's also really
I think
important.
it's a great one, yeah.
Because there's one of the groups we partner with is Kansas State, and they have a whole PTSD beekeeping program for
Interesting.
veterans. It's very
Oh.
therapeutic.
Oh, I could see that too.
Yeah,
because
you
it's
can't
like a
be
lot of
crazy,
process.
and it's like the sound has a therapeutic element to it.
because it's a
just gotta
cyclical
kinda move
noise.
through 'em. Yeah,
Huh.
because it's a what?
It's like a cyclical noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like a drown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a what do they call it? Like not brown noise necessarily, but
Yeah.
I enjoy all of like
Bee
the
noise.
meditative noises.
Some
So I'm
people
like,
will. The guy who owns Savannah Bee,
Yeah.
Ted, has, I believe he shared it with me. He didn't send me pictures though. Like a sauna that has beehives in the bottom, so you can actually take a nap in it, but they're not in there with you.
Right,
Like,
right.
they have
Yeah,
an
it's still
external
separate, but
entrance.
like enough.
But yeah, so it's like a sound therapy type.
That'd be
thing.
cool. I'd be down to try that too. Well, I'll also when we reach
You
out
have
to
my
local
number?
bee- yeah, I'm down.
Get you in all kinds of weird bee things.
I would love it. I mean, genuine. And like the thing is, look, my goal is like I like to do silly stuff, but I genuinely think there is a message almost every time we do something silly
Yeah,
where I'm
there
like,
should be.
And well, it was one of the reasons I was very excited to sit with you about this because you're funny too, and I think that helps people learn things. Do you know what I mean?
So my dream here.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
I have a couple dreams.
Okay.
One is I want IHOP to have a honeycomb topper as a give back for pollinator research. Like, would you like a honeycomb on that?
Yeah.
On every pancake in the nation.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be whoever.
Yeah.
Give me a pancake shop. But that's dream one. That's
Right.
like that, and that funds our 501c3. It funds the research.
Everybody goes home happy,
Everyone goes
yeah.
home happy. But the other is the National Spelling Bee, which I mentioned.
Yes.
So I originally got the idea when I was watching the movie with
Was it Jason Bateman?
Jason Bateman.
Yeah,
Bad
Bad
Words.
Words,
Bad
yes.
Words. And
Yeah.
I was like, Honey Company. Plus, we're a big reading family. Mom
Yeah.
worked for a very long independent bookstore of like 80 years or old or something like that.
Yeah.
And, but I want to do programming for kids with like literacy, words, because words make better informed choices, especially around food.
Sure.
But I think there's a way to do it here in this greater area.
I think so
And
too.
you could be the MC or the BC.
I would love that. But I would absolutely love that. I think there's a space upstairs that might be perfect
And
for this.
I just need to get you a $4,000 BC.
Yeah, look, honestly,
We'll just paint that yellow.
that's what I was just gonna say. Honestly, we could probably just find a way to like do a couple mods to it, and it would be perfect. Because
Yeah.
I've got wings and everything too.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
they're a little fragile.
If you paint it yellow and black, no one will know the
No one
difference.
would know. People barely know now. They're like, "Oh, you're a fly." I'm like, "It's cicada season. You're from here.
Yeah,
I
you
should
should
know
know.
more about this than
Yes.
you." That's how I feel. That's my take on my state. Is I'm just like, I don't need to know more about this than the people from here.
But you do.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I
Yellow
do
and
enjoy
black.
knowledge.
Yellow and black. And
That
then a
would be
stinger.
fun.
That's all
Yeah,
I need.
I got one.
Okay.
I bring my own BYOS. I was like, what letter does stinger start with?
We'll figure something out. I'm gonna go talk to the woman upstairs about
Okay.
this again.
Oh, cool. So that's great.
Yeah, we were too late this year.
No, but we should. I want to be a part of this. And anything you've got going on,
Okay.
I like what you're doing.
Okay,
I would
thank
love
you.
to help however I can.
You know chefs.
Yeah, I know a lot of them.
Get this in as many chefs' hands. as
I
you can.
could probably do that today.
Okay. I'll send you some pack. Or
Next
you have-
time
you
you're
have
here,
to
bring the
send
box truck. We'll do a whole episode
With my
from the box
exercise-
truck.
my exercise bike.
Thanks. I can't wait for that. Oh, they don't even know.
My
But we should do that.
automatic exercise bike from 1954 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. No, it has to be early. Wait, no. We said it was Elvis's. Sorry. I
It
was
could
like,
also be from the Titanic. Which
oh,
we'll
that
just go-
yeah.
we'll
So
go
we
a
might have
little
gone a little
earlier.
earlier. I was like, it's like a 1910 edition.
It has a plug. I don't know.
Yeah,
if the
exactly.
Titanic.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Do they?
Well, they probably
They
had
had those straps like
Yeah,
Lucky
they did.
was
I think
saying.
so. Yeah, like the little. I want to know. That's another question I have in life. Who was like, if you just shake a belt on a fat person, it makes them less fat. I'm like, bro, have you seen me put a belt on? It doesn't help.
Do you shake that much so when you put it on?
A lot, honestly. The whole process. I'm doing the waggle dance. I'm just like, this is where breakfast
nobody's
is gonna
learning
be.
anything.
They're
Yeah.
just everyone's just staring at me. I'm like, why are you moving or talking again? I'm like, that's
breakfast is that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I figured out the ultimate route there.
You're gonna need one brownie to get you there to get a stack of pancakes and
It's a
come
back.
back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. That would be how I would write my travel book, though, if I ever did one. It would be like, this is the restroom quality. This is the, you know what I mean?
It's the little icons. 4 bronze toilets, perfect.
Yeah, it's like,
can
oh, that's a
handle that.
good one. I was like, ooh, that must be a Buc-ee's,
Buc-ee's. Can't stand that. I have a Buc-ee's cooler in my car right now.
Really? Everybody loves the beaver. I'm going to make it happen here. I'm going to do a merch thing here.
Really?
I have to. Do you know how upset I get when I go places and I see people in Buc-ee's merch? I'm like, you should have Jungle Gym shirts on.
They don't have any merchandise here.
We did
That's
years
like
ago.
Swaggy.
Yeah, I think we just had things that didn't sell well historically. And you didn't have, I mean, I don't want to make this sound like it's about me.
I could go to some of those Clue games. Do they sell really well?
There's, I think, a Jungleopoly I don't know if it's in progress or canceled.
Is it with
or
USAopoly, the company?
I have a feeling yes, because
my
I know
buddy's
we've
company.
Oh no, kidding! I interviewed I forget who it was. I'm gonna have to
Dane?
see. That sounds right. It's been a couple years. So I
Yeah.
don't remember the name, but
His sister was doing a Hawaiiopoly to
that sounds
buy
right.
marijuana or something like that.
That sounds awesome.
Something crazy. like that.
I was doing this thing at this
No
toy
names
show.
when you record
No,
them.
it's all good. They're all I'll block it all out. When we did it too, they did. I was interviewing all these toy developers at a toy show,
Yeah.
and I was like, if you could have invented one other toy, what would it be? And they were like, well, obviously Monopoly. I was like, oh well, sure. Clearly, because that is what you're doing in
Yes.
your company, but I was hoping you might say the Slinky.
What's yours?
I had a good one at the time, but I actually think the Slinky would be one. It's like, it's simple.
Pet Rock, though.
Pet Rock, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That feels more accurate for me. I'm like, yeah, that's like a thing I was like, people will buy anything. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
Oh, genius idea.
I was like, oh,
and
my
everyone's
gosh.
like, you're an idiot. And all of a sudden,
And then all of a sudden, I'm a rich idiot. That's what I'd like to be. Anyway, well, before I run out of space on here, Douglas, it's been an absolute pleasure.
dude, absolute pleasure.
Is there anywhere I can have everybody follow you easily?
FreshHoneycomb.com.
Cool.
Yeah, just a website. We don't do a ton online, but yeah, at Jungle Gyms, come by.
I'll make some TikToks on this too, so then follow us. That works.
Love it. And I'll get you a case for restaurateurs.
I would love to do that. I'm serious. Yeah, I can connect you
Cool.
with some really good ones. I'll brag about it when the camera's off.
Love it.
Same. Thank you again for coming. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Douglas, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming in. I learned a lot. Hopefully the audience learned a lot. And I'm very excited for them all to see your brand new display. All right, folks, that's it on the episode. How high can I reach? I can reach all the way up here. That's it this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, join us on YouTube because we make all kinds of fun stuff. We've got all kinds of videos coming out all the time. It'll be completely worth your time. We are doing all kinds of fun things here. Just join me on YouTube. Stop making me ask. I'm being very polite about it. I don't want to be polite. I want to be direct. I want to be aggressive. Get on the damn YouTube. Subscribe there. Start watching there. Put it on the background. You can still listen to it in the car that way. All right, all kidding aside, I appreciate your support. Have a great week. Happy 4th of July, but that's going on right now, right? And yeah, in the meantime, I'll see you out there in the aisles. The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.